You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd and I am the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com and at Yahoo Sports Australia. And you can find me on Twitter as always at redrock_bball and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today we are looking at some potential buy low players for fantasy basketball for your trading desires. Michael Bolton.
Let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Indeed. So what we're looking at here are players whose value over the last couple of weeks is a little bit lower than what I expect them to be for the rest of the season. Therefore, you might be able to go and target them in a trade. As usual, this is not everybody who might be a buy low, and this does not mean that you go and get this guy no matter what. If you have to pay too much to get them, you just leave it. If you see if you can get them at a discount, if you get them, fantastic. If you don't, oh well, you move on and go on to the next guy. And the first guy I want to talk about is someone who gets roundly criticised, rightfully so, because he's been pretty piss poor of late, and that's Andy Wiggins of the Minnesota Timberwolves. The last 5 games, he is the 180th ranked player, only 15 points per game. He was putting up some really strong numbers this season, and he still is. He's the 72nd ranked player over the course of the season, which for Wiggins is a significant improvement on where he's been over the past couple of years. But recently, things have fallen way off. 25% from 3, 39% overall from the field, under half a block, only 0.6 steals, 3.6 rebounds only, 1.4 threes, under 15 points. There are significant things there that Wiggins can improve upon. The minutes are also down there. There's been some blowouts which have limited his playing time also. So it's nothing to get... I'm not looking... He's definitely not a drop or anything along those lines. But this is... And given the negative connotations that surround Wiggins and his fantasy performances, which have admittedly cooled off since the beginning of the season, he's only 105th over the last 2 months. He's also not this bad of a player. He's not going to score 15 points a game. He's not going to shoot 39% from the field. He's not going to play 29 minutes a game either. So there is significant room for improvement here from Wiggins. And again, given how people feel about him, getting him at a cheaper price now is probably going to be your best opportunity to do so. Tomas Satoransky of the Chicago Bulls. It's been a bit of a lame stretch from him. He's the 150th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. He's 90th over the course of the season, so you can already see the discrepancy there. And much like Wiggins, the shooting's just not there. 39% from the field. But the other thing that was really keeping Satoransky in that top 100 were the steal numbers. And he has had only 7 steals over his past 7 games. He's still giving you the 5 assists. There's 10 points. Only half a 3, which is disappointing too, but there are significant things there that can improve. Steals are one of those things, and I've talked about this plenty of times, that do influence players' rankings quite a lot. And it does often overrank guys or drop them down significantly when their steals fall off. And that's exactly what's happening for Satoransky here. But if he goes back to 1.5 steals a game, then he jumps back up to being a much more valuable player, giving you 5 assists, hitting 1.5 threes a game, and generally doing it pretty efficiently. So Satoransky, to me, with the way that he's going at the moment, is a buy low option, as is the ravishing one. Over the last 6 games, Ricky Rubio is the 122nd ranked player. He's not likely to play today as well, Tuesday, as he is attending the birth of his child. But over those last 6 games, under 9 points per game. He's still giving you over 9 assists and 1.3 steals. But the shooting has been poor. Now, you can tell me he's not a good shooter, and I will agree with you with that. But he's also not a 33% shooter or a 31% shooter from 2-point range. There's significant room for that to improve. His free throws are at 68% during that time. Another thing which he is not going to continue to do at that level. Otherwise, everything else. You have 5 boards, 1.3 steals, 9 assists. You bump that at 9 points to 11 points, 12 points, the 1 3 to 1.5 threes. The field goal percentage to low 40s, and then you're well back inside that top 100. He's the 56th ranked player over the course of the season. If anyone's panicking about Rubio, and there is some element of maybe he does get hurt because he gets hurt quite a bit, that gives you a level of pause, and you don't pay for him by giving your opposing GM a top 60 guy. But this is a time when his value is low, and you might be able to extract him back in a trade. Another Chicago Bull, Lauri Markkanen. Apparently dealing with an ankle issue at the moment. He is never going to be getting any defensive numbers. In fact, he has blocked exactly 0 shots in his last 7 games. These will always hold him back. His steals, assists, and blocks will always keep him from being a good fantasy or a very good fantasy player. But he's also scoring only 15 points per game and only 6 rebounds per game. The usage is well down, significantly down on where it should be. The minutes are too low as well. He is still, despite the struggles this season, the 97th ranked player this year, and he can be better than that as we move forward. I think Drew Holiday bears mentioning. He's injured at the moment, so that gives him an extra level of buy lowness, but 86th over the last 2 weeks. Now, it is only in a couple of games because his percentages will way off, but people will be panicking about the return of Zion Williamson. They'll be panicking about shutdowns and trades and all that sort of shit, which is just unlikely to happen. And you might be able to get Drew at a solid rate. He's the 33rd ranked player over the course of the season. I think you look at him as a top 35, top 40-ish guy as we move forward. And if you can get him for anything outside the top 50, that is absolutely a deal that I would do. And people will say, Josh, these sort of deals are unrealistic. You should see some of the trades that get suggested to me, or people thinking that I should accept this. Someone suggested to me today that they should trade away Giannis Antetokounmpo for Malcolm Brogdon. And I don't remember the second player, but it was someone, say, like Derek Favors. Like, that is the level of trades that do go down or get proposed or people think about. So, it's not going to happen every time. But if you threw someone like a Malcolm Brogdon for Drew Holiday, I would take Holiday there every day of the week. Buddy Hield, that's a straight, easy one for me. Devontae Graham, I'd probably take over Holiday as well if you could achieve that sort of a deal. There are plenty of options to do this. Gordon Haywood struggling quite a bit at the moment with his shot. It's just not going in. 84th over the last 2 weeks. He was rolling. He was like a top 30 guy before he broke his hand. That was unlikely to continue because it was on these really weird shooting splits. But he's also, the steals are well down, under 4 assists, half a steal a game, under 2 threes a game as well, and not getting to the free throw line. Haywood will be better than this. It's not a huge buy low window here on Gordo, but his last game wasn't great. He's had a couple of weird ones in between here for the Celtics. So an opportunity to get a guy who might actually knock on the door of the top 50 for a player or a piece that might be barely inside the top 100. That's a deal that I'd be looking to try and make. The Baptist, Johnny Collins. A bit of a struggle for Collins recently, 76th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Only 28 minutes a game, which is a large portion of that, but also 44% from the field and 74% from the line. One of the pillars of John Collins' fantasy game is his good percentages. 50 plus from the field, approaching 80 from the free throw line, and that has really, really fallen off of late, especially over the last 3 games where he's under 40% from the field. He's hitting only 20% of his threes. His 2-point percentage is down, and those minutes are just way off for him. He hasn't exceeded 30 minutes once in the last 5 games, which is annoying. No doubt about that. There was some foul issues in some of those games, but he just needs to be playing more. Now, the blocks are excellent. He's had in his last 4 games 2, 4, 4, and 2 blocks as he started at center a lot of those times. The rebounding is solid. It's really the shooting percentages and the playing time that is keeping him down low. I think we should be looking at Collins as a top 35 sort of a guy for the rest of the season, and this is an opportunity to buy him low. Head to another Boston player, Kemba Walker, who is sort of sitting right in that range over the course of the season where I predicted that he would be at the start of the year. I did worry about the usage and all that sort of stuff with Boston. He's 31st overall this season, so comfortably in that 3rd round range. He's 52nd over the last 2 weeks. He's only playing 28 minutes a game. That's part of that reason there. 17 points and under 5 assists with 1 steal. It's hardly inspiring. 75% from the line as well. Like, these are solid enough numbers, but they're not great. And again, it's all just about trying to extract a couple of rounds of extra value. If you've got Kyle Lauri and the worry about his minutes, I would trade him for Kemba Walker. Not a problem with that at all. I would package a couple of guys who are outperforming expectations. Hey, try and find someone who's a Derrick Rose fan who also has Kemba Walker and throw Derrick Rose and somebody else in that deal and see if you can get Kemba back. But it is a downturn in his production that will likely improve pretty soon. The last guy on my list is DeAndre Ayton, the starting player who comes off the bench for the Phoenix Suns. Only 49th over the last 2 weeks. That's fine. That's right in line with his 52nd ranked over the course of the season, but he will be better than this. He is averaging 16 and 11 in the 6 games. Now, he doesn't get steals, he doesn't get assists, he doesn't hit threes. He's at 1.5 blocks. His percentages are okay, but it's just his usage is way too low, under 22%, only 32 minutes and coming off that bench. He can be much better than what we're currently seeing him do. If people are panicked about him coming off the bench, I understand that. But I also think that he's not going to do that all season, and he is going to push back up into that second round, or at worst, third round type of a range for the rest of the season. That'll do it for my buy low, guys. If you have any other buy low, guys, drop them in the comments of this video below, or tweet at me at redrock_bball, or tweet or comment, on Instagram at LockedOnFantasyBasketball. A 5-star rating and review goes a long way to helping out this show, guys. We are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.